answer that question. So in the next century, actually, university education will develop to a different supply, a different set of courses they will offer. And that's already visible now. So, of course, we will have the degree courses, bachelor, masters, and we will have also doctoral students in the future, even more than we have now. But the knowledge will also be for free. And so courses will be on the net, accessible for all for free, as now is the case with open educational resources, as now is the case also in a slightly different form with the so-called MOOCs, the massive online, open online courses. So that's very important. So first of all, we have degree courses. Second, we have open courses for free, accessible for everybody. And thirdly, universities will also have a complete area of tailor-made courses for companies. So courses on demand, very short perhaps, very flexible for the work floor. So that's the big challenge, to transform universities towards new concepts of education, open and flexible degree education, tailor-made education, and to make it effective and also accessible for all, making use of new technology. This is the transformation of the future, of the immediate future. This will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. We don't need more time, I think, to do that. And after that, we will see that the university landscape in Europe, but also in other continents, for example, in the US, will change drastically, but we can't predict how it will change. Anyway, for this transformation to online education and to these new segments of education, in Europe we have expert institutions, and these expert institutions are recognized also by the European Commission. These are the open and distance teaching universities, because they are going down that road already for 30, 40 years in Europe. They have a lot of experience and expertise, and they can now act as agents for change for the whole national higher education system in their country, but also in other countries, because there are only 10 open universities or distance teaching universities in Europe. And in most of the countries there is no open and distance learning provision. So that's also an additional challenge for these other countries, that they have to provide in their educational system open and flexible education or distance education as a form of lifelong learning. Within these systems, and certainly in the degree studies, it's important that universities, that higher education institutions are more inclusive. Excellence by inclusion, not anymore excellence by exclusion. That's the real challenge. And there as well, we can follow the example of the open universities, but we can also benefit from the opportunities given by new technologies, by ICT-based learning, which allow to discover talent, but also to guide talent to excellence, whatever talent, because there is a diversity of talents. We have, as higher education institutions, to recognize, and we have to respond to this diversity, which is a completely different mission than in the past, where universities tend to be more exclusive than inclusive. They tried also excellence, but mainly excellence in research. Now it's excellence in teaching, excellence in education. So that's the challenge for the next 10 years, I think. Yes, that's the next point. New technology can create new spaces for education, and that's also needed, because universities have different tasks. They have to do research, they have to teach, they have to deliver services to society, and they have university programs, but to respond to the needs in society, you need really a diversity of programs and a diversity of courses. You need enriched curricula. Universities usually can't offer all of the subjects. They offer already many subjects and subject areas, but these subject areas will be reduced in any university in the future. So the challenge is now to collaborate with other universities and to collaborate at the curriculum level to offer networked bachelor degrees in psychology and education and engineering, in business administration and economics. And also they can integrate curricula. They can offer a joint curriculum. That's also a possibility. But anyway, they should collaborate. And by collaboration at the curriculum level, and by doing that with the support of online technologies, you create also a new classroom. You need a trans-institutional classroom where two or more institutions collaborate to deliver education to groups of students. This can also be international education, so you can perfectly collaborate with a university in Latin America or in Belgium or in the Netherlands or Germany to enrich your curricula, to make your curriculum more complete, and whereby also students belong immediately, right from scratch, to an international classroom. So that's the power of online media, and that's also the power of having joint spaces at the bachelor level, joint space for a bachelor degree in psychology and education and nursing, which will enrich all of the students participating in that same area. Because in that joint space, you share students, you share staff, you have more staff available, you share courses, you share all resources you have, also, for example, research reports, thesis work, and so on. You can share also all educational resources you have in that joint space. And this is also cost effective because you don't have to organize everything yourself. You can also rely on partner institutions for some subjects, for some infrastructure, for some online learning tools, and also you can develop courses together in teams composed by two or more institutions, which is also in itself already cost effective, but also which will enrich the course as well right from scratch, because you have more different scopes in your course and you can have also support from different institutions. Of course, at this moment, higher education is mainly preparing for students for having a job after their studies. But in the future, universities will participate or will drive learning networks with their alumni, with their former students in companies, or they can have also learning networks with a major company or with SMEs in a region along certain domains of knowledge. It can, for example, be business administration or information technology. It can also innovative knowledge in the field of microelectronics, or it can also be in the domain of healthcare, and in the case you are cooperating with hospitals. So learning networks will become important in the future. And the question is then how to organize these learning networks, this open knowledge sharing between the university and different companies or employers, organizations in the region. And that technology is now developed. So the technology itself, of course, it's not the most important thing, but knowing how to use this network, how to push innovative knowledge in these networks, how respond to also new ideas, innovative ideas that come from the work floor. And that's the new challenge for universities to deal with the labor market. At the moment, we do bad at this moment because our SMEs and even our large companies are not so much knowledge intensive as we want. So if you look to US universities or US companies, they seem to be more knowledge intensive. We have, of course, knowledge intensive companies, but as an average and looking to Europe as a whole, our companies are not knowledge intensive enough. And their universities have to play a role by pushing innovative knowledge towards the companies, but also the opposite. They have to pick up innovative knowledge from the companies, from the organizations, and they have to create a kind of dialogue. By doing so, they guide talent, not just in their for students who are 25 or 20, but they are guiding talent in a context of lifelong learning. So it's a lifelong guidance of talent, and not only guidance, also a lifelong feeding of talent by new knowledge, and therefore you need a good networking in a region with companies where universities guarantee validated knowledge. So the problem for the expansion of education, well, but the problem is perhaps not technology, because technology we have, and technology will develop by itself. That's up to the engineers, and the engineers are doing very well. They are very innovative, and they are well educated, and increasingly they see education also as a domain for innovation for themselves. So we don't worry so much about the technology. In the short term, we will have the excellent tools, for example, to organize learning networks. And if you want to have synchronous communication with students, you have perhaps 3D video conferencing in the future. And you have also very sophisticated, serious games or educational games for the education of students. So technology is not so much the problem. The problem is the staff. The problem is the professors. I come from a famous, let's say, I can say that, research university, and staff is used to teach teacher-centered and not student-centered. So they transfer in an excellent way knowledge. They are really, in that sense, they deliver high quality in that model, but this is not the model of the future. The model of the future is the model which is technology-based and which allowed a more student-centered approach, a more personalized approach to students. And that change of culture, but also that change of teaching skills, that's the most important challenge, and that's what we have to do in Europe. Of course, in many countries we have an open university. They are expert institutes. They do also research and development around these educational approaches. So that's safe, let's say. The challenge is then to extend that knowledge to other universities, because there you need also that more student-centered approach, also in conventional universities. The only thing is that you're not really aware of that. There are some who are doing good work already, but it's very incremental. It's just step by step. It's not strategic. It's not according to a plan. It's worse even in countries where there is no open university. Where there is no expert institute, but we have learned that it is the ambition of the European Commission to create a kind of European space of excellent teaching, where open universities, open and distance teaching universities as expert institutes can contribute to up-level the quality of teaching to excellence also in conventional universities. And that is really modernizing higher education.